Jeff, good morning.
Hey, good morning, brother.
Man.
Listen, man, what's happening?
No, man, happy to have you this morning because I'm always interested to see what you're talking about.
Man, always good. Listen, man, the President Biden is and his entire administration continues to have a level of focus on equity that I think is undeniable. And even as people say, should we be excited yet? I don't think that's the issue. I just think that at every single moment there's an opportunity to talk about equity. We're seeing it happen, and many of us saw it yesterday, Rick, with the conversation around their COVID approach. And there was a sister by the name of Dr. Marcella Nunez Smith, who is the chair of the COVID-19 Health Equity Task Force. And she talked about the fact that, this was an advisory committee, but they had already submitted recommendations to the president as well as to all those that are part of this COVID-19 task force that would really that dealt with a couple of impact areas and impact demographics. So there was no question that Black, Latino, people of color, poor folks have been impacted both by the virus, by access to healthcare, access to resources, and even access to the vaccine. And they said that a couple of things that they wanted to focus on was that there would be no out-of-pocket costs for those that needed the vaccine. They were going to increase the number of places to get the vaccine, and which I thought was really interesting because they said, listen, we can't rely on people being able to get to the places that currently have the vaccine. We're going to have to go to people to ensure that they have it. And that there was something really interesting, right? They said that this whole approach was going to be based on science, public health, and equity.
Right.
And for those to be the key areas, I think, we all know that there was going to be a shift in how this administration handled it versus the previous administration. But we weren't guaranteed that equity was going to be at the top of the list. And so I'm excited, one, to see who's ultimately going to be on this equity task force, what all of the things that come out of it are, and how it's going to especially impact our community. So, again, I'm not one to celebrate prematurely, but I think I said on Tuesday, brother, we got to give credit where credit is due. And equity continues to be at the top of the list of this administration, and really not with lip service, with pragmatic stuff. Again, we want to see more, but we can't be in that place where we don't acknowledge what's happening. I haven't gotten a chance, Rick, to talk about how excited I am about Rosalind Brewer being CEO of Walgreens. And, many people have talked about the Spelman graduate who literally Walgreens was gangster and just went into Starbucks for a cup of coffee and walked out with her.
Wow.
Because, she was COO. She was COO of Starbucks.
Right.
And now as CEO of Walgreens, she's the only African-American woman that is a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, which to me is insane, which is insane on a number of levels. Because when we look at how many sisters are either senior executives or COOs or in the C-suite, this is something that we constantly talk about. We just talked about equity, right? Part of equity is about developing new pipelines into the C-suite. And so whether it's the ELC, which I think is doing a great job of not only gathering some of the top sisters and brothers in corporate America to ensure that they're supporting each other to go to the next level. As consumers, when we see positions in the C-suite that are filled and constantly not filled by people of color, and I think Black women in particular, we need to let them know. It also means, Rick, that one of the things that we got to do more often is become, for those of us that can, stock owners in the companies that we consume the most. And you don't even have to be, one of the brilliant things about stock, man, is you don't have to be a majority shareholder to go to a stockholders meeting. If you have one share of stock, you are eligible to go to a shareholders meeting, which means you're eligible to have a voice. And I'm not saying it's a silver bullet, y'all, that says all of a sudden because you buy one share of stock, you're going to go into a share meeting and tell them who the CEO is going to be. But I do mean that it's a way for us to have greater voice inside the brands that we make profitable.
Right.
And so I encourage you to where you can, if it's part of your investment strategy, or if you just want to be able to have a say. From one share of stock to however many you can afford as part of your investment strategy, get stock in the companies that you consume the most money in. And it's something that we can teach our babies as well. And so as we see Rosalind Brewer, man, I literally was like, okay, I got to change where I'm getting my prescription. I now know where I'm going, because if this sister's the CEO of Walgreens, I'm not going to this pharmacy or this pharmacy or this pharmacy.
Right.
Because I'm going to use every dollar I have to support her being successful. And if each of us do that, not just with her, right, but with all of the businesses we want to be successful, then we could see something incredible happen. Last but not least, Rick, before I get out of here, I just want to say that there's this interesting thing happening, and I want to figure out how we can talk about it. I'm constantly hearing through social, and I'm seeing it through stuff that pisses me off, this whole issue of black men not supporting black women, whether it's watching a sister get attacked or whether it's not standing up. And I really think this is something that as black men, we got to stop avoiding having a real conversation about.
Right.
Because I know a ton of brothers that stand up. I think that there's a real issue, man. And I want to hear more brothers talk about ways that they are standing up for sisters. And I also want to hear brothers talking about how they're holding accountable cats who don't. Because I think that there's space for us to create better relationships with our sisters. And I'm not talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about cultural relationships. I'm talking about us understanding that we can be there for each other, and sisters understanding that they can trust us. But that doesn't happen because I think so many brothers are like, listen, you can't say nothing nowadays without getting half canceled or attacked for saying it. And so I think we like, listen, I'd rather just be in my clique, do what I do, be the man that I am, stand up where I can, versus deal with that in social media. So I want to hear from brothers. Hit me at Jeff's Nation on how you are standing up. I want to start telling more of these stories and how we're holding cats accountable, because I just don't think the real narrative is out there, Rick. I know it's some of them.
Right.
That do that. But I just fully believe, man, that the majority of brothers out here are not those guys.
Right.
And we need to talk about them as much as, sisters are right, as much as we got to hold accountable these other cats. And I just want to hear how brothers are doing it so we can start sharing it in a way that I just don't think we do enough of. So y'all can hit me at Jeff's Nation on all social media. And listen, if we going to get better, it's because we get better. Because we choose to, and because we show up, and because we talk about brothers and sisters that do the right thing every day, not let this other thing be who we are. So that's it, Rick, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1906. Jeff Justin, ladies and gentlemen.
Jeffrey
Justin.
1119.